year is 1952. A dark curtain has descended across the European continent.
World War II didn't end with a bang, with a whimper, slowly petering out in 1946 as the last substantial Soviet resistance collapsed on the Eastern Front. With Britain having signed an armistice after the quick fall of France, a relentless air war, and the USSR having simply melted away without surrendering, there was no peace treaty, no victory day, simply a slowing down of warfare. After years of war, Hitler's Reich stood victorious over a broken Europe, while in the East, the Japanese collapsed under a joint Commonwealth-American war.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
With victory finally here, Hitler and his government finally set about the political and demographic restructuring of Europe. Generalplan Ost, Germany's plan for the colonization of Eastern Europe, came into effect. Occupation was passed from the military to new civilian colonial governments, the Reichskommissariats, who oversaw the slaughter that was to come. Soon after Germany took control of the region, almost all food was commandeered, and the largest famine the world has ever seen began in Eastern Europe, killing tens of millions in matter of months and years. Those who resisted and were caught were sent straight to the gas chambers of the giant death camps of Poland, Ukraine, Belarus, Russia and the Baltics. The smoke of tens of millions of burning bodies filled the skies. Random killings by the SS and police also thinned the numbers, and so did the millions sent to labour camps in the factories of Germany. Not long after the killings began, German colonists, often families of soldiers who fought in the East, arrived in the new Eastern territories, encouraged by promises of huge tracts of virgin land and generous monetary benefits, as well as being pioneers for the German race. Cities were restructured, old traditional Slavic and Soviet brutalist architecture demolished and renamed to new German cities. Entire cultures were wiped out. What followed was something the Germans hadn't expected, a continued war. Even after the fall of the Soviet Union, German soldiers thousands of miles away from home were drawn into a brutal insurgency in Russia, where both open and guerrilla warfare continued to kill thousands of German soldiers. Meanwhile, in the Reichskommissariats, resistance continues. Groups like the Polish underground state continue to fight against Nazi rule, performing terrorist attacks and killing German colonists. The luxurious farmer's life the colonists were promised never really materialized. Instead, millions of German civilians migrated into the war zone, where the threat of a Polish or Ukrainian suicide bomber blowing themselves up in a town centre was a constant looming fear. As Hitler begins to grow old and ill in the late 1940s, he realises despite victory the world he hoped for is not here. The subhumans, far from being easily dealt with, resist German domination fiercely at every turn. While America's economy strengthens, Germany and Europe's economies stagnate. Even Britain, seen to be on the verge of collapse in 1940, is now a recovering nation, propped up by American military might. Despite victory, the world ahead is not a necessarily German-dominated one.